Welcome to Watch-Worthy Shows. April 2026 is one of the most packed premiere months in recent streaming history. There are series arriving after years of waiting, finales closing important chapters in contemporary television, and bold new bets with top-tier casts. We put together the countdown of the 12 most interesting releases of the month, but before we get started, it would mean a lot if you took a moment to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for your kind support. Number 12. Margot's Got Money Troubles. Margot is 20 years old, dropped out of college, and is pregnant after an affair with her English professor. Her mother was a waitress her whole life, and her father, a retired professional wrestler, has been out of the picture for years without a trace. Bills do not wait, options run out, and Margot makes a decision nobody saw coming: open an OnlyFans account and learn how to build a public persona from the only person who knows how: her eccentric wrestler father. Based on Rufy Thorpe's novel and produced by A24, the series arrives with a cast that, on paper, seems impossible to believe. Elle Fanning as Margot, Michelle Pfeiffer as her mother, Nicole Kidman in a supporting role, and Nick Offerman as the father. David E. Kelley, the creator of Big Little Lies, writes and runs the project. It premiered at the SXSW Festival before hitting the platform, and early reviews describe something genuinely funny, warm, and considerably more complicated emotionally than the premise suggests. The combination of A24 and this cast is reason enough to pay attention. Number 11. Malcolm in the Middle. Life's Still Unfair. Malcolm was the smartest kid in his neighborhood, the misunderstood genius of a completely dysfunctional family that turned every single day into a barely controlled disaster. For 7 seasons on Fox, the series followed him from childhood through high school, with a sharp humor and a warmth that very few family comedies have managed to match. More than 2 decades have passed since it all ended, and Malcolm has spent years building a quiet life, deliberately far from the chaos that once defined him. That plan lasts exactly until Hal and Lois demand his presence at their 40th wedding anniversary celebration. The limited series brings back Bryan Cranston, Jane Kaczmarek, and Frankie Muniz, plus the rest of the original cast across 4 episodes. It does not try to be more than it is: an honest reunion with characters many people grew up watching, one that acknowledges the passage of time without pretending everything is still exactly the same. 4 episodes is not much time, but sometimes what is fair is exactly what is needed to close something well. Number 10. Man on Fire. John Creasy is a former Special Forces mercenary carrying a war trauma that will not let go, no matter how hard he tries to leave it behind. He has built something resembling a normal life, but when the people closest to him are put in danger in Brazil, he goes back to everything he tried to leave behind. This time, he does not arrive with an elaborate plan or institutional support. He arrives with the only tool he ever had: himself. This Netflix version is based on A.J. Quinnell's original novels, and not on the 2004 film starring Denzel Washington. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II takes on the role of Creasy in a story that expands across 7 episodes, a format that allows his emotional profile to be developed with a depth no film can afford. The supporting cast includes Bobby Cannavale and Scoot McNairy. The tension is constant, and the series shows no interest in softening the harder edges of its protagonist. A solid bet for fans of action thrillers with real dramatic weight. Number 9. The Testaments. The Handmaid's Tale ended, leaving Gilead still standing, and The Testaments picks up the story 15 years later from a completely different perspective. Aunt Lydia, the most fearsome character from the original series, now runs an elite school for the daughters of the regime's most powerful commanders. 2 young women move through that institution from opposite sides: Agnes, raised inside Gilead and shaped by its rules since childhood, and Daisy, a Canadian teenager who discovers an unexpected connection to the world she thought was far away. The direct sequel is based on Margaret Atwood's novel and arrives with Ann Dowd reprising the role of Aunt Lydia, a character who gains layers here that the previous series barely hinted at. Bruce Miller, creator of the original series, continues as showrunner. What distinguishes The Testaments from its predecessor is its gaze. Instead of observing Gilead through the horror of adult handmaids, the story moves through it from within, from young women who never knew another world and have nothing to compare it to. That makes it, at certain moments, even more disturbing. Number 8. From Season 4. From started with a premise as simple as it is terrifying, a town in the middle of nowhere that traps everyone who enters and will not let anyone leave. When night falls, creatures with a completely human appearance come out of the darkness and hunt anyone who has not managed to find shelter in time. The residents survive as best they can, trapped in a place they do not understand, while trying to figure out what this place is and whether there is any way out. 3 seasons in, From remains the most addictive and consistently well-rated mystery series on MGM+, with a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 3rd season that ended with a perfect score. Season 4 arrives with the characters closer to answers than at any point before, but the season tagline warns from the start: knowledge comes at a cost. Harold Perrineau leads a cast that has spent 4 seasons building one of the most consistent mystery universes in contemporary television. If you have not watched it yet, now is the time to catch up. Number 7. Stranger Things: Tales from '85. Stranger Things ended its main story, leaving Hawkins, Indiana, closed as a chapter. But the universe the Duffer Brothers built over 9 years has more stories to tell, and this animated series is the first official expansion of the world outside of live action. Tales from '85 is set in the winter of 1985, in the time between the 2nd and 3rd seasons, when the group was enjoying a calm that, in that town, never lasts long. 11, Mike, Will, Dustin, Lucas, and Max try to live something resembling normalcy, but beneath the ice, something is starting to wake up. The series arrives with a genuinely interesting question: can this universe work just as well in animated form? Early footage suggests a visual style that combines the aesthetic of Saturday morning cartoons with the dark atmosphere that defines the franchise. The Duffers remain involved in the production. For fans who still miss Hawkins, this is the most unexpected and welcome return of the entire month of April. Number 6. Your Friends and Neighbors, Season 2. Your Friends and Neighbors introduced Andrew Cooper, a disgraced fired hedge fund executive who discovers an unexpected talent, stealing from his millionaire neighbors in New York's wealthiest suburbs without anyone suspecting a thing. The first season was one of the smartest crime comedies of the year on Apple TV, plus a kind of Breaking Bad in suburban form that worked as much for its writing as for a John Hamm who found in Coop one of his best characters to date. Season 2 finds him doubling down, with riskier operations and consequences that are harder to control, until the arrival of a new neighbor threatens to expose everything he has built and put his family at risk. James Marsden joins the cast as that mysterious newcomer. The fact that the platform renewed the series for a 3rd season before the 2nd even premiered says a lot about the confidence Apple TV Plus has placed in this project. The tension between comedy and thriller works here, and the 2nd season promises to turn up the pressure. Number 5. Beef, Season 2. Beef is an anthology, which means each season arrives with new characters, a new story, and a different question about why people destroy each other. The first installment followed 2 strangers who turned a moment of road rage into a war that ended up consuming everything. It won multiple Emmy Awards and established Lee Sung-jin as one of the most original creators working in streaming today. This second, a 24 season, introduces a young couple working at an exclusive country club who witness a fight between their boss and his wife. What starts as something that does not concern them drags them into a game of favors, secrets, and manipulations that escalate until they become completely unmanageable. Oscar Isaac and Carey Mulligan lead the new cast, joined by Oscar winners Song Kang-ho and Yun Yu-jung, plus Kaylee Spaney and Charles Melton. Phineas O'Connor handles all original music. Lee Sung-jin returns as showrunner with the same ambition as always: create characters you do not know at the start, and by the final episode you care about deeply, despite their worst versions. Number 4. Criminal Record, Season 2. Daniel Haggerty is a chief inspector with 20 years on the job, connections in every corner of the system, and an almost supernatural ability to come out clean no matter what. June Lenker is the detective who challenged him, exposed him, and paid the price for it. In the first season, these two quietly destroyed each other within the limits of an investigation that put institutional loyalty and the pursuit of justice to the test in a deeply fractured London. In the 2nd season, a young man is stabbed to death at a political rally attacked by far-right extremists, and June is the officer in command when everything falls apart. Consumed by guilt, she needs answers that only Hegarty has, and to get them, she'll have to accept a deal that pulls her deep into the murky world of police intelligence. What begins as a homicide investigation quickly escalates into an undercover operation to dismantle a terrorist conspiracy in the heart of London. The tension between these two remains the engine of everything, and that is exactly what makes it impossible to put down. Number 3. Hacks Season 5. Deborah Vance has spent her entire life building something no one can take away from her. Her name, her legacy, her place in the history of American comedy. John Smart plays her with a quiet ferocity that has won the Emmy 4 consecutive seasons. And that is not a minor detail, it is proof that we are looking at one of the most fully realized characters television has produced in years. Hacks launched in 2021 as a comedy about generational tension between a veteran comedian and her young writer, Ava Daniels, played by Hannah Einbinder. What seemed like a simple premise became something much harder to classify, a drama about the price of success, creative identity, and what it means to build something that lasts. In this 5th and final season, Deborah and Ava return to Las Vegas after false rumors announced the protagonist's death. Far from stepping back, the two are more determined than ever to cement Deborah's legacy and prove they still have plenty left to say. The series chooses to close at its peak, with 10 final episodes that promise the same sharp humor, the same creative tension, and an ending worthy of everything it built. Few streaming farewells feel as earned as this one. Number 2. Euphoria Season 3. Euphoria introduced Rue Bennett, a teenager with an opioid addiction trying to survive in a high school where pain, desire, and identity collided in ways that teen television had never portrayed with that kind of rawness. Zendaya built with that character one of the most acclaimed performances of her generation, and the series became a cultural phenomenon that divided audiences but left nobody indifferent. Season 3 arrives after 4 years of waiting, with a 5-year jump in the story. The characters are no longer in high school, they are trying to be adults. Rue is still in debt to Lori in Mexico. Cassie and Nate are engaged and living in the suburbs. Jules is in art school. Sam Levinson confirmed this season will explore faith, redemption, and the problem of evil. The cinematography was shot on 35 and 65mm film, a first in the history of narrative television. Eric Dane completed all of his scenes before his passing on February 19, 2026, which gives every scene of his a weight that no screen can prepare you to feel. Number 1. The Boys, Season 5. The Boys arrived in 2019 to tell the superhero genre everything it did not want to hear out loud. That power without consequences manufactures monsters, that institutions protect those who control them, and that the difference between the hero and the villain is, more often than not, simply who has the better publicist. 4 seasons building that argument with an almost brutal coherence, and now comes the 5th and final one. Homelander no longer needs to pretend. He is absolute power with a smiling face and nobody in the world capable of stopping him. Butcher's team is scattered, imprisoned, or at the limit, and the only plan on the table is so desperate that in any other series, nobody would dare propose it seriously. A virus designed to erase every super from the face of the earth, starting with all of them without exception. Carl Urban confirmed that deaths begin in the first episode. Eric Kripke insists there was always a plan and that this finale delivers on it. The full cast is back. 5 seasons built toward this, and here begins the last chapter of one of the most important series of its generation. And that is a wrap on the top 12 best series premieres of April this year, a month that in any other context would seem impossible to cover, but here we are, trying to watch it all. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you do not miss our upcoming videos. Let us know in the comments which one you are most looking forward to. See you in the next one.